to talk about the US healthcare versus Spain healthcare. Now, I'm an American who lives in Spain. I've lived here for the past 2 years, and I am on the digital nomad visa, so I do have access to public healthcare. And I wanted to explain my experience with the public healthcare, if it is good, do I actually rate it, and what the actual cost of this overall is. So to give you a backstory, if you're new here, I'm Christina. I'm a digital nomad. I've been living abroad for the past 5.5 years. I moved to Barcelona 2 years ago on the Spain digital nomad visa, and I've had that ever since. I'm a freelancer, self-employed, so I'm autonomo here in Spain. I do pay a good amount of taxes, but I also get access to public health care. Like I said, US, it doesn't really exist unless you are well below the poverty line, and then maybe get some assistance, but the average American is not gonna be getting that, and they're gonna be paying into their healthcare. Now, of course, if you're an employee, sometimes your employer will give you good benefits, and that is something a lot of people have to think about before even accepting a job is what are the benefits? What's the insurance going to be like? Because you need to make sure you are covered. Now, if you are self-employed or say you're a contractor, I was a sales rep when I lived in the US years ago before I left, and I had to have my own health insurance. Now, when I had my own health insurance, like I said, this was about 6 years ago now, I was paying around, I wanna say $400 a month. And of course, I still had copays to go see the doctor. I still had copays for the hospital, for urgent care, all that kind of stuff. So $400 a month is not a cheap place to be when it comes to your health insurance, especially when that's not just covering everything. Now here in Spain, I'm autonomo, so I am paying into Social Security here in Spain, and I pay my taxes. Of course, the taxes are definitely higher in Spain than they are in the US, and I have lots of videos going over taxes and everything. I'll tag them down below for you guys, and also put one up here to link for you. But definitely, if you have any questions, look at that, because I'm not gonna go into taxes in detail in this video. I'm really gonna be talking about healthcare specifically. So definitely check those out if you have any questions about this, especially if you wanna make the move on the Spain digital nomad visa, because it can get really confusing. So now let's talk about my experience with public health care. So I, unfortunately, as you can see here, I have a compression sleeve on. I fell down the stairs at the gym. I have stitches in my elbow, and this was this past week. So I was at the gym and they mopped the floors right by the stairs and didn't put a sign up. So great, so wonderful. And I literally slipped and fell down the stairs, and I landed on the stair edge right on my back, on my spine, and then on my elbow. So I had gotten up and I was in instant pain, and I walked down the stairs. I was on the 3rd floor of my gym. I walked down the stairs to try and find Harry. He was down the 1st floor. And when I got to the middle floor, I realized that I actually could not make it down the stairs any farther. I had blood dripping down my arm. I was starting to feel really faint. And so I asked the worker for a Band-Aid. They took me to their back room. And when I was there, I started to really not feel well. And they asked if I had someone with me. I showed them a picture of Harry, and the guy went to go get him. And actually, I was by myself at this point in the staff room, and I was kind of scared because my back started to go in really, really, really bad pain. And when I tell you, I have not had cold sweats like this before in my life. I was completely just dripping down my head. I was freezing, shaking. I think I was going into shock. And my vision started to go. I couldn't really see anything. My throat got tight. I could barely formulate words or come up with sentences. And so by the time Harry got back, I was really not in a good way whatsoever. And we ended up asking the guy to call an ambulance just to check on me. I wanted to make sure I was okay. Obviously, in that moment, I was really not feeling well. After a few minutes, the ambulance arrived. The EMTs came. They checked me out. They said I needed stitches in my arm and that we had to go to the hospital. Now, if this exact same scenario was in the US, I would almost have anxiety, because I know that the cost of that ambulance ride from the gym to the hospital was going to cost me so much money. That could be anywhere from $500, if you're lucky, to $2,000 or $3,000 for a very short ambulance ride from wherever you are to the hospital. Now here, I got an ambulance. I obviously do have public health care for my visa, and I gave them my information. They took me in the ambulance to the hospital, got to the hospital, went straight to a bed. They took care of me. I got an x-ray on my back, x-ray on my arm, and they realized that nothing was luckily broken, just some contusions and really bad bruising. And they told me I had to get stitches in my elbow. So they put some stitches in my elbow, sat there. They gave me some medication, some pain stuff, and then they sent me on my way. Now, when I was waiting to leave, they're like, hold on, we have some paperwork for you. And I was like, okay, this is my first experience, like hospital ambulance kind of thing. I've been to the hospital before on my own just to check out when I had kidney stones, but I'd never been brought by the ambulance to the hospital. So when I got the paperwork, it basically was just giving me a rundown of what they did, what they went over, and then my script for medication for pain stuff. And then I was off on my way. And that cost me no additional money. Zero additional dollars. So I was able to go through that whole experience and get good care and not have to worry about the cost of it versus being back home. Now I have a similar story from back home, except not from the ambulance ride, but the cost still doesn't matter. When I was home, I had broken my foot, and at the time I worked in orthopedics, so I knew exactly what I did. When I got to the urgent care center for my hospital, I told them, I was like, guys, I broke my foot. Can you please put a cast on it and send me on my way? Just x-ray to make sure. And like, yep, of course. Did the x-ray. I was in and out in 45 minutes, put my cast on, my crutches, and I was on my way home. I then got a bill about a few weeks later, and the bill was $16,000. Now, my insurance did cover a good majority of it, but my out-of-pocket expense was $2,700. $2,700. Mind you, I paid like $150 copay just to go and see the doctor at the urgent care. And I also paid $400 a monthly to my premium for my insurance. And of course, I still pay taxes. Because the one thing in Europe that people say that drives me absolutely mad is they're like, healthcare isn't free. We pay our taxes. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Like, everyone pays taxes. In the US, we pay taxes, but it doesn't go to healthcare. It doesn't go to actually helping us and make sure our health is okay. Here, you pay your taxes and actually goes towards your healthcare and goes to make sure you're good. So when I had my bill, I literally was like, what is this? $2,700. I was in there for 45 minutes, saw a doctor, took an x-ray, put a cast on. What could you possibly charge me that much for? Went through my bill because I was like, I want to see exactly what's up. And I called them. This is where my mind was absolutely blown. I was like, why do I have 3 charges for an x-ray? And why do I have 2 charges for doctor visit? And why do I have 2 charges for my hospital bed? And the lady explained to me, I had 3 charges on my x-ray because 1 charge was from the urgent care center, 1 charge was from the doctor, and 1 charge was from the x-ray tech with the x-ray company. They're all separate entities pretty much that are contracted by the hospital. So they have all 3 separate pricing, not even the same pricing, 3 times separate pricing for 1 service. So an x-ray didn't cost me like $300, ended up costing me thousands of dollars because each one of them decided that I had to pay for it. Same with my doctor visit care, my bedside care. The doctor charged me, the urgent care charged me. They also charged me to sit on the damn bed, and the doctor charged me for my hospital bed. And there were multiple things on this list that were charged multiple times because each entity was charging me for it. So American healthcare really is about profit. It's not at all about healthcare. It is solely about profit. Otherwise, they wouldn't be charging you multiple times for 1 service because it would all be under 1 thing. Now here in Spain, hospital, ambulance ride, EMTs, nothing in addition. Nothing. And I've been to the doctor multiple times here. So outside of going on the ambulance ride to the hospital, I have been to the doctors. I have chronic kidney stones, so I'm constantly going and getting them checked up on. So I have been to my local doctor office. I go there, make an appointment, go, nothing, doesn't cost me anything. The only thing I pay for is my medication. And even at that, like, my medication is so cheap. I remember one time they gave me a script for some medication. I went to the pharmacy and I gave them my script and they were like, I'm just letting you know that this isn't covered by your public health. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. She's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. Like, how much is it? And she's like, 10 euros. I was like, 10 euros. I'm lucky to pay 10 euros if it's covered by insurance in the US for pharmaceutical stuff. So it is just so different. And yes, of course, there are cons to everything in life. There are downsides to everything in life. So is the system perfect? No. Do you have to wait for some things? Yes, of course. But in the US, you sometimes still have to wait for stuff as well. You still have to wait for specialty doctors. You still have to wait for surgeries. And of course, you can get private here. If you want to kind of cut down that track and get things happening faster, you can get private healthcare. But the difference is that no matter what, even if you get private healthcare, as long as you are autonomo or you are a citizen here of Spain, you will have access to public healthcare. So if your private doesn't work, if your private runs out, you never have to worry about being in a situation where going to the doctor is going to put you in debt. There are so many people that I know, so many stories that I have heard where people have gotten into a car accident, not even their own fault, and they were out hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills that they couldn't pay. They'll put liens on your houses, they will empty your bank accounts, they will do whatever they can to get the money for themselves without caring about your well-being or the safety of your life if you lose all of your money and your assets and everything. So there is such a big difference. And I think sometimes I do tend to complain about how much I pay in Social Security here and how much I pay in taxes here. But this weekend really did remind me of something super important. And that's the fact that I don't fear healthcare. I don't fear getting sick. If I get sick, I just go to the doctor. My boyfriend couldn't believe for the longest time, until I got kind of used to living here and used to it, that I wouldn't go to the doctor when I was sick unless I really needed it, because I just was so accustomed to being like, oh, I have to pay $150 to see a doctor. I don't have to pay for this lab work potentially it's not even going to get covered, and they're going to charge me $800 for a vial of blood. I didn't want to do that, so you don't really go to the hospital, and it's kind of ingrained in you to not go unless it's truly necessary. Versus here, you can just go. I go when I'm sick and I get better easier and get healthcare faster. And I'm a more healthy human being because I have access to it and I'm not afraid to use it. Whereas in the US, it can be so different. So yes, of course, there is a price you pay for having public healthcare. But at the same time, I don't think it's anywhere near the price that you would pay if you took your insurance premium for your monthly bill in the US and what potentially your bills could be if you get a bill from the hospital or your doctor or lab work or your surgery or whatever it might be, or having a child, which that still blows my mind that it costs you tens of thousands of dollars to have a child in the US. It's crazy. So it is something to really consider, especially if you worry about your health at all. Maybe the US isn't the best place, and maybe moving to Spain is something that would be good for you. And so if you have questions at the staying digital nomad visa, or there's a non-lucrative visa option, there's still the golden visa, but I think until next month, and then it might go away. I have my lawyer's contact information down below that you can go book a free call with them to just talk it through and figure out which option is the best for you. But I definitely feel super, super grateful to live in a country where the healthcare system's actually amazing and it is for the people and it's not for profits. It's just there for you to use and it's not gonna hurt you financially. So obviously that was long-winded, but I did wanna kind of talk about everything because that was my experience just recently going to the healthcare system, and it kind of gave me a different perspective on the cost of living when it comes to taxes here and what I could and could not save versus what this fall literally would have cost me if I was in the US. Because I guarantee you would have been at least at minimum $1,000 for that ambulance ride, and then it would have been at least probably another $2,000 or $3,000 for my ER visit, my stitches, and my back x-ray and arm x-ray and all of that. So I just think it's important to talk about and put that out there because as an American living in Spain, I truly, truly cannot explain how much you realize the American healthcare system is so freaking broken. It's so broken. You can have private healthcare, sure, if people want to pay for it 100%, but you should have some sort of public forum for people. It shouldn't be that you're going to put yourself in debt to become a healthy person or to get the care you need. So I hope that gave some perspective to you guys. I just wanted to make this quick little video, and that is why I'm a day behind on videos as well, because editing is a little bit harder when I can't fully bend my arm and I'm still healing and resting. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions below, please drop them in the comments. I will try and answer them for you guys if I can. And let me know what else you want to see, what else you want to learn about living in Spain or traveling or moving abroad or anything of that nature. And I have lots more to come for you guys. The next videos will still be the Mexico City vlogs and then Belize. And I'm telling you, you're not going to want to miss these. And I have so many really cool travel plans to share with you guys for the rest of the year coming up. So make sure you subscribe so you do not miss any of the next videos coming out. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.